LEGO throughout its history has expanded what you could do with plastic building blocks. In 1949, they started with plastic building blocks for children, and since then have experimented with many other formats of plastic construction. In 1977, LEGO began its Technics line, adding a new line of plastic gears and rods that could be used with normal LEGO pieces to make simple machines, like, say, a LEGO car. Then in 1998, LEGO realized that if you could make machines out of plastic, maybe you could make robotics. LEGO Mindstorms was created, using Technic pieces and basic electronics to make sets that could be remote controlled to do basic robotic functions, and in some cases could even be programmed with coding. In 2002, LEGO Mindstorms came out with the Spybotics line. There were 4 sets of remote-controlled vehicles that were supposed to be robotic spies, hacking machines, that sort of thing. Of course, what they really could do is be programmed by a software disk to follow pre-established missions based around objects in the room, but still pretty darn cool, especially for the time. To promote this new line, LEGO wanted to make a browser game. LEGO had already teamed up with a New York City-based company called GameLab and their producer Frank Lance to create a wildly successful and fantastic browser game called JunkBot. And don't you worry, JunkBot and JunkBot 2 will be future episodes. LEGO decided to team up with Lance again, and the result was 2002's Shockwave browser game Spybot: The Nightfall Incident. Also, real quick, every time I revisit this game, I have a Mandela effect where I misremember the name of the game as Spybotics: The Nightfall Incident, not Spybot. You'd think that'd make more sense since it's also the name of the line of the LEGO sets, but whatever. Nightfall Incident lets you pick as one of the Spybots to play as. The choice doesn't really matter in-game, so it's just for personal aesthetic taste. You're then taken up by the organization SMART, a group of good hackers. You then start on a map with various pathways to different nodes, which serve as the levels for the game. In each level, you have a grid layout with enemy software programs placed in various locations. You then get to place your own software programs onto the starting spots before beginning the level. Each program can move a set number of spaces per turn, and while each movement grows the program by 1 square, each program does have a set limit of how long it can be. Then a program can also attack to remove squares of a target program. The team that fully eliminates the other set of programs wins the match. Of course, the programs vary in size and ability potentials. Unless you decide to actually hack the game, the enemy mostly has a completely different set of programs than you, but with mostly similar abilities. As you beat levels, you acquire in-game currency that can go to wares nodes, which are basically shops to buy better programs. The nodes increase in difficulty, going from level 1 through level 4, with the final boss battle of the game being the sole level 5 node. During the game, you slowly uncover a plot that an ex-SMART agent is planning to hack the internet to take it hostage, with the plan to make everyone pay money to use the internet. Truly a dystopia we are thankfully very far away from. The story itself is fine for a Shockwave game, even giving you different dialogue options that let you be a nice humble guy or a self-righteous prick. But let me tell you, the dialogue is full of so many early 2000s internet slang, it's kind of funny. I forgot there was a time people on the internet spelled cool that way. During the 2010s, I remember it being difficult to distinguish the 2000s from the 2010s, but now in 2025, so much of it really stands out. The aesthetic of the game is simple but cool. The simple art style, while typical for a lot of Shockwave games at the time, is still nice to look at, even if I'm biased a little with my nostalgia. Entering a level has loading screens that look like you're hacking into the network, with a warning against hacking spoken in the company's language.
Attention, la zone que vous essayez de passer est la propriété du Dr. Donut.
But the best part of the game's aesthetic is the music. Sure, like most Flash games and Shockwave games, they were usually loops that were only 60 to 90 seconds long, but they were good loops. It's got a cool theme. It's got an eerie droning track when on the nodes map. Then the node battles had 1 song or 5, depending on which version of the game you played. The original one on LEGO.com had 5 tracks, 1 for each level of nodes. But for whatever reason, when copying the game elsewhere, someone accidentally glitched the game and there was only level 1 music for all the data battles. Then once the original game was off of LEGO.com, only the version with the 1 battle track seemed to be out there. It got to the point where I totally forgot about the other 4 level tracks until some saint on the internet re-uploaded them. I didn't even remember level 5's music, but that's probably because I never beat the full game as a kid, but I definitely remembered the others. While it was nice rehearing those lost sounds, I do have to say the level 1 music is easily the best of the 5 anyway. The gameplay, meanwhile, is so much fun and still feels unique today. Obviously, a board game style, turn-based strategy game isn't new, but the aspect of letting the programs grow and shrink in size rather than just be basic pieces on the board with a health bar is what makes it stand out. You already have to incorporate strategies based around the range of attacks or how vulnerable certain programs are, but having to potentially worry about how long or short your program is adds another aspect. For example, one enemy program known as Warden++ can delete up to 7 squares in a single attack. So if you have a slow-moving program trying to get away from it, but it's too long, the Warden might be able to catch up and kill you in one hit. This is also why knowing what programs are best for which situation is important for winning the game. As the player, you have the opportunity to use up to 38 different programs throughout the game, although many of them are just upgrades of previous programs that you get to unlock as you advance to the next level's Wars node. For close range units, you have the following groups. The Hacks, which are your basic melee attack unit. Bug, Mandelbug, and Heisenbug are able to move quickly, but can only be 1 square in size, making them vulnerable. Wolf, Spider, Black Widow, and Tarantula are similar, but overall trade out less bite for being able to be slightly larger in size. They also have the ability to slow down or paralyze their opponent by biting them. Buzz Bomb and Logic Bomb are the powerful one-use self-destruct programs of the game. Then the Golems, Mud, Clay, and Stone are basically slow creeping programs that can eventually get to a larger size and pack a big punch, but it takes time. Then by itself is Sumo, which is similar to the Golems but slightly more powerful. The catch is, though, it has to be 6 squares long before it can attack. Sumo is also distinct as the only program in the game that the enemy sometimes uses as well that you have access to. Long-range programs are pretty similar to each other overall. Slingshot, Catapult, and Ballista are your basic long-range units that eventually have larger range but a smaller attack. Satellite and Laser Satellite are the opposite with a shorter range but a bigger attack. The Seekers, meanwhile, enjoy the best of both worlds but damage themselves with every attack, so you have to use them at the right moment. Then the Towers are just in the middle but can only have 1 square. In my opinion, these are the worst units in the game. There are 2 other units that are technically long-ranged attack units, but I'll get to them later. Now for a list of programs that don't attack at all, usually. The Data Doctors and Medic add squares to a program, with Medic being long-ranged. Data Doctor 2 can also increase a program's max size. The Clogs decrease the movement of enemy programs. The Turbos can increase the movement of your own programs. Then there's a category of programs that try to mix these two together. Fiddle can increase move rate and maximum size. Guru, meanwhile, is like if Clog had a long-range attack. Then finally, Wizard, which is a bonus unlockable program, can increase a program's max size and conduct a long-range attack. Then the final 2 programs are special. Memory Hog is a bonus mission unlock, and it can attack, but it can take up a lot of space. It's great to just add a layer of protection to your other units or to block a path. Then last but certainly not least is Bitman, the most unique unit of all. It doesn't attack, it doesn't get super large, but it can both eat and spit out the actual board squares on the board itself. Honestly, there are so many missions that if you can't figure out how to win, Bitman will save the day. You can use it to build a trench to prevent your enemies from moving too close. You can build a land bridge to cut off areas, which on some levels you actually have to do to win anyway. For enemy programs, it's a lot simpler. The Sentinels are basically the equivalent of Hacks, Watchmen are the equivalent of the Slingshot, Catapult, and Ballistas, Guard Pup, Guard Dog, and Attack Dog can move quickly to deal damage. The Wardens are basically the equivalent of the Golems. Sensor, Sonar, and Radar are enemy towers, except their range is so much larger. Firewall is kind of like Memory Hog, except it can do a 1 damage melee attack. Then finally, for the level 5's node, you have rather fittingly, the Boss. Imagine if Firewall had a powerful long-range attack instead. The game itself received high praise from those who played it, and it remained a staple on LEGO.com's online games collection. But of course, with the death of Flash, and most people moving on to either mobile games for their phone or Steam games for their PC, it also meant LEGO.com eventually stopped hosting the games. A few archives still have the Nightfall incident, such as the Flashpoint archive, which is how I continued to play it and eventually got good enough to finally beat the whole game. But the Spybotics fandom wasn't going to let this game remain dead. A creator by the name of Gus Vogel, or Super Essence, made an HD remake of the original Spybotics game. It has a bigger full-screen size, sleeker looking assets, but overall keeps so much of the original aesthetic. I couldn't be happier, frankly. While I think everyone should try the original to get an idea of what the game was originally like, absolutely download the HD remake if you enjoy the game and want to keep playing it again and again. Overall, Spybot The Nightfall Incident is a game with potentially days of fun depending on how much some levels may stump you. In my opinion, it is one of the best Shockwave games or browser-based games ever made, even over 2 decades later. If you like these videos about old browser games, be sure to subscribe and see the rest of my Flash Fossils series. There's so many more old games I want to make future episodes of, and the more you guys watch, the more likely that'll happen. See you all in the next episode.